So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I might just start if that's all right, and I will let people in as they start coming in. So just bear with me. So for those that don't know me, I'm Katie Stevenson. I'm a systemic psychotherapist known in the UK, or otherwise family therapist. I've worked and lived in the UK and in Australia. I'm calling from Australia today in Perth, WA. I had the pleasure of working with Jeffrey Young from the Bouverie Centre in Melbourne, and done some work with Jeff, and also Suzanne Fazard too. I set up this international network meeting. It started off as a network meeting in the UK when I worked and lived in the UK, and introduced single session to a CAMS context, so a child and adolescent mental health service context, during a time which unfortunately still is the case, where demand was ever increasing and services weren't able to kind of support and manage the referrals that were coming in. So we introduced single session, did a bit of research, and it took off, and then introduced it to other trusts, other areas in the UK. And since then, after writing, since writing a publication in the Context magazine in the UK, and the chapter that I contributed in the most recent single session book, we've had another number of people across the UK that have reached out and started implementing single session in various contexts, which is really exciting. But also for me, who's incredibly passionate about shifting the paradigm and thinking about how we respond to the need of people that are requiring services imminently and collaboratively. So for me, this is a really exciting, honourable position to be in, that this has now gone global, it's gone international, and I'm trying to keep up with people's interests in terms of how we can introduce single session in various contexts around the globe, but recognising we're all in quite similar positions and passion around this sort of work. And I reached out, I've met Monte and Arnie before at the symposium in Melbourne. You might not remember me then, I was a bit younger. And also in
We all
Italy
were.
when I was
So was I. Right.
when I was in Italy as well, I had the pleasure of meeting them both then too, and just knowing about their work and the fact that they're recognized, leaders in terms of single session, but also the pioneers in terms of the open door and walk-in clinic models, and just in terms of how they've shaped this way of working and thinking in this space. So yeah, over to you, Monty and Arnie. Just thank you so much for joining us today, and very honoured that you could be here and share your amazing work. So thank you. And I know your colleagues are here too, so you might want to introduce them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah. So do you want to start, Monty, and sort of how do you want to do it?
I was going to invite you to start, but
Well,
I can start. So I really, Arnie and I are both honored, Katie, that you invited us to join this group this morning. And I think we've got something very exciting planned. Arnie and I don't plan on talking for the whole morning. We'll do maybe a short 30-minute intro into the open access or walk-in or one at a time kind of service delivery model that many people may not be quite familiar with. I'm hoping most of the people on this call are familiar with single session therapy or one at a time therapy, so we won't be talking about that much this morning. Arnie and I have invited some colleagues from around the world that have been implementing one at a time in their settings in quite unique ways, so they'll be joining us during the second half hour to tell us very briefly about their work. We have the people from the Eastside Family Center in Calgary. I haven't seen their names pop up yet, but Nancy McAlern and Janet Stewart will be joining us. Mika Niemela, did I say your name wrong? Close?
Close enough.
From Helsinki is here. Saul Cruz from Mexico City. Marina Gonzalez from Casa Tonalá in Mexico City. And Ulla Kiskinen from the Finnish Association for Children and Youth in Finland as well will be joining us in a bit. As we proceed, Arnie and I have some slides. That's how you can tell somebody is an expert. They're from 100 miles away and they have slides with them. So that's what qualifies us to be experts, I guess, this morning. But feel free to just open your mic and shout at us if you have questions or concerns, or put them in the chat. Maybe Katie can keep an eye on the chat for us.
Yeah, and we really want to emphasize too that we're hoping, yes, to emphasize that you are welcome to ask questions, jump in, whatever, and that we're leaving a significant amount of time, we hope, for the last part for open discussion, questions, comments, critiques, whatever of what we're talking about here, and we really look forward to hearing from you folks.
So should we shift to the slides here, Arnie?
Yeah, sure.
And let me see if I can figure out how to do that here now. Teams is not my forte.
Please don't worry. It's all
There we go.
nice informal space, hopefully, where everyone can feel comfortable.
All right. I'll let Arnie proceed from here.
Yeah, we're about. We know that all of you folks are very involved in the single session therapy arena. Our particular focus has been on the no appointment. We've been playing around with names for what to call this: walk-in, no appointment, open access, et cetera, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But we want to get into this idea, starting with a story about a couple that walked in to the center called the Community Counseling Service in San Antonio, that's operated by Our Lady of the Lake University for the training of their graduate students. But this is a community-based service that anybody from the community can come to. And on this particular, we're going to use this example. This is an example of an actual example of a couple that walked in one afternoon. And that morning, right away, they tell us that morning they had been for a meeting at the local, the San Antonio, what's called here the district attorney's office or the prosecutor's office. Because the husband in this case had been the victim of a very significant crime 2 years earlier, in which he was stabbed and also almost died, and had been asked to come to the prosecutor's office that very morning to talk about preparing for the trial of the main perpetrator of that crime. And at that meeting, he was being asked to talk about it. He showed signs of great deal of panic. He had a hard time speaking, answering questions. He said, that he almost fainted. His wife jumped in and explained what had happened 2 years earlier. He had been robbed, and in the process of the robbery had been stabbed. And in fact, she actually, even in those first few minutes, asked him to stand up. He did this somewhat reluctantly, stand up, to turn around, lift up his T-shirt to show us the stab wounds. So the district attorney, seeing what a difficult time he was having, suggested that he get some counseling. They did an online search, found out about us, and that very afternoon, they walked in for a session of counseling. So this is, what we talk about when we talk about open access and the possibility, which creates the possibility of immediate help when a person feels the need for that. So they left the district attorney's office immediately. They came to the community counseling service on that same morning, and here they were, and they were also assured that while this was many people find that one session works for them, that they could also, potential was there for additional sessions. The community counseling services offers other services by appointment, but also they could walk in again at some point in the future of their choosing in the same way. So they were under no pressure to make a commitment at that point. So can you?
Yes.
Yeah. And what happened during the session, pretty early on, as we discussed what had happened, this man, first of all, this was a very traumatic event. And in fact, he was found unconscious after the stabbing, was taken to a hospital. At one point, he was actually pronounced dead. And they were actually undressing him to prepare to send him to the morgue, and they saw signs of life, and he came back to life. He had from the time this happened 2 years ago, talking about what happened to him. In fact, he really declined to talk about it to anybody. If somebody asked him about it because they had heard that he had been victimized in this way, he would take out a newspaper clipping from his wallet and hand it to them so that he didn't have to talk about it. They could just read a little clipping about what had happened. He also early on let us know that he felt shame about what happened, because he was a retired law enforcement officer at the time of this incident, and felt shame that he should have handled the situation better than he did. Which is just another thing that made it difficult for him to talk about it. There was some implication that there was previous elements of trauma. He had served in the military in combat zones. So all of this together was making it very difficult for him to talk about it. But at a certain point, there was an agreement between the clinicians and the couple about the idea of using the time that we had together to talk in some detail about the incident as a way of preparing for the future testimony that he was going to give at the trial of the perpetrator. So you could kind of think of this as using the session as a kind of dress rehearsal to prepare him and to help him to gain some confidence and lessening the fear of talking about it. And this is exactly what happened. They were very motivated. The wife was very, very supportive of him. And by the end of the meeting, they were just, he reported being much more confident about telling the story. You could hear it in the way that he was speaking. He was relieved and in a way almost looking forward to the next meeting with the prosecutor. The other thing that they decided to do when we took a short break during the session, and he and his wife talked about it, and they also made a decision at that point that his wife belonged to a church and that he would join a men's group at the church where he would also be able to practice talking about what happened to him. So that's a single session. I just want to say, Monte, you can jump in at any point if you want to, as we're telling this story. So just say, so what made this possible? Traditionally, you'd have to make a phone call, ask about appointments. There might be a formal intake process. There might be forms to fill out. There might be wait lists. There might be some formal assessment. So this is a lengthy process with a lot of hurdles. And here we have what we call the open access pathway. So a therapeutic session at the moment that it's most meaningful. When I say this, one of the things that I always think about is that the very first walk-in session when we started this service in Calgary in Canada, this way back in 1990, the very first session that I did, I really don't remember the content of it. I remember it was a woman about 40 years old. What I remember was as we were standing up to say goodbye, the degree of gratitude that this person expressed, but just simply for the idea that she could come and talk to somebody at that moment when it was very important to her to talk to somebody. This is one of the main benefits of the open access pathway.
And Arnie, we've heard that kind of gratitude, if you want to put it that way, expressed in clients over the years, that they were so thankful that there was a place that they could just walk into at the moment of their most intense needs. And in this case, with this man, it was a real critical moment in his life. So maybe we could be even clearer about what we mean when we're talking about open access. We used to use the term walk-in to talk about this, and I probably still do more often than not. But we have kind of redefined what we think about doing here as open access, because that means that you can walk in, you can drop in. During the pandemic, we were even doing virtual walk-in services. The idea that there's no appointment is necessary is the idea. So what we're trying to do is eliminate the barriers between the moment when a person decides that they want to get some help and the opportunity to receive that help. Now, that flies in the face of a lot of conventional ways of providing services that require some intakes, require therapy assessments and all of that sort of stuff. And we have conscientiously tried to eliminate as many of those barriers as possible. In our clinic, and when I say in our clinic, I'm talking about the clinic in San Antonio, but I stole many of the ideas that we use in the San Antonio clinic from Arnie and Nancy and the folks at Woods Homes. We use basically the same intake form they've been using, I suppose, for 20 or 30 years, and it's just a two-sided form that the client can fill out in about 10 minutes before the session begins.
So back in the 1980s in Calgary, I was hired to be the clinical director of a very large agency called Woods Homes, which provides a wide variety of services for adolescents, for youth and their families, residential services, education-based services, a whole wide variety of community-based services, focusing, as I said, on adolescents and their families. And I was asked at that time to help them to start an outpatient family therapy program focused on youth and their families. And we did that. And if you gauge the success of that kind of outpatient service by the length of its waiting list, then we could definitely say it was very successful. And there were also lots of problems because of the waits and the waiting list. I mean, people would come in, they would first meet with an intake coordinator, forms would get filled out, they'd be put on a waiting list. When an opening happened, they'd be called. Some people would decide they don't want to come in. We would occasionally we'd have somebody not even remembering who we were by that point, or they would make an appointment at that point but weren't in the same place, so they may or may not show up for the appointment. And we kept talking about, is there something different that we could do here? I remember conversations with the executive director of Woods Homes, Philip Perry at the time. This idea percolated about, well, what if people could just walk in without an appointment? How could we do that? Now, both Philip and I had been heavily influenced by the work of the psychiatrist and hypnotherapist Milton Erickson. And if you've read Milton Erickson's work, you'll see that he has many, many case examples of serving people with one session. And so for Philip and I, it just seemed like, oh yeah, of course we can do that. But what we did was we formed a kind of an advisory group. We went out to the community, asked people what they thought about this idea. Interesting, I don't think this will surprise you folks too much. We really never had criticism about this idea from community members about this idea of just being able to walk in and see somebody. Where we did get some criticism was from some of our own mental health professional colleagues about, well, how can you, that's not therapy, or, I mean, that's not what any of us learned in graduate school. But from the point of view of the community, it was just very widely accepted idea. In fact, my favorite comments, and we heard this from actually two different people separately, when asked, what do you think about this idea of just being able to walk in and see somebody? And we had a couple of people say, well, why haven't you been doing that already? And the fact of the matter was that in where we were in Calgary and in the province of Alberta, in the 1980s, there was a very large proliferation of walk-in medical clinics. They became very popular very quickly. And that was one of the kind of one piece of the thinking that we had. If medical people can do that, then why can't we do that? So we opened our service in 1990, and by almost miraculously, very shortly, I would think in the first month that we were open, we discovered, because we had been looking all over the world for examples of this kind of work. Of course, this was in the time before Google searches and all that. We weren't able to find something. And then all of a sudden, we learned that there was this brand new book called Single Session Therapy, written by Moshe Talman, which really, first of all, gave us confidence, but also gave us lots of ideas about how to do these single sessions. Do you want to move from there, Monte? Is that?
Well, I'm wondering if I'm taking a look at the time, and we're almost close to the end of the first half hour.
What if we go to the last slide just to talk about that? This is one of the what we have found and research has found. One of the main benefits of the open access idea is, just take this phrase: open doors are easier to enter. And what that means is that we see more people in these services that are either very skeptical about the idea of psychotherapy, come from cultures where this isn't a cultural, there isn't a cultural connection to this idea. I mean, psychotherapy basically was a European idea. And so it's like you don't have to go through a lot of hurdles. You could walk in the door and you don't have to make a commitment. So there was a study done by our colleague Sandy Harper Jakes that was published somewhere around 10 years ago, where they were doing this research project, and they wanted to, when people walk into their service, and they asked people if those who consented to be part of the research project, that they would take the first 100 people that consented to be the subjects of their research. They wanted to research the outcomes, the effectiveness of this work. And they took the first 100 people that walked in, and it turned out that 50% of them identified as male and 50% identified as female.
Mm-hmm.
We don't typically see that in our work. And I think that's an example of what we mean by we will see people in this kind of service who in more traditional approaches we would tend not to see. So we see more diversity, let's say, in this work.
Let's see. Have I stopped sharing now?
Yeah.
Okay. Arnie, I think it's so appropriate that the first people that'll be talking, the next people to be talking will be from where you started all this at Woods Homes. And I told you and Wendy, I know Wendy's on the call. He may help me out here a little bit, but Wendy, when I was in London in the fall, Wendy introduced me to the caravan walk-in counseling operation that's been in 1988. Wendy, is that when they started?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of years before you guys opened the East Side Center, there was a walk-in service already started in London. So that idea was beginning to catch on.
Yeah, we also, just to say, I mean, we also discovered after we started that there was actually a walk-in center that still exists in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the United States, that started in 1969. And it is still operating there.
Yeah. So you want to introduce Nancy and Janet?
Well, these are my longtime colleagues. Nancy was involved basically from the beginning at the walk-in service. Janet is I really don't know what your title is there, but is now the heads up the place. She's in charge.
She's the boss now.
Thanks.
And what we're asking people to do here in these brief presentations that they're doing is we're looking at so what are some of the really new and innovative things that are being done within this arena of open access single sessions. And so I'm very happy that Janet and Nancy could be here. And I think were you going to start, Janet? Is that?
Yeah, I think I'll sort of start chatting, and I'll be fancy and try to share a couple slides too there, Monty, so you're not alone in your slides. So my official title are just for you to know. So I'm Director of Programming at Woods Homes. Woods Homes is a large mental health agency here in Calgary, Alberta. And we have everything from walk-in, single session therapy that I'll talk about here now, to what we call therapeutic campus-based care. Nancy and I are here today to represent Eastside Community Mental Health Services. Arnie gave a good few little snippets about the work that he started, although those many years ago. But essentially, we've been providing walk-in single session therapy for over 30 years. Started under the name of Eastside Family Center. And for all of these decades, walk-in at Eastside has meant that clients from our community of Calgary and surrounding areas, because many have driven before they've walked through our doors, could really have a therapy session, as Arnie described, without an appointment and at no cost to them, up to 6 days a week. At this point, our population in Calgary is 1.6 million, a little more than what was 30 years ago, but as Arnie said, it stood the test of time. Really at that point, again, I really appreciate what Arnie and Monte have described as this open access path, because we describe what we've developed since COVID as that as well. The Eastside Therapeutic Framework could be described as eclectic and client-centered, but it's always been rooted in a strengths-based approach, certainly with the principles of systemic and solution-focused thinking at the forefront. The outcomes that have been and continue to be tracked show that over 90% of clients report an increase in distress after the service, and that's really important to us. We see that this immediate open access path really reduces stress for families and individuals. The idea is for them to get back to regular functioning, whether it's back to school, back to work, feeling better. 95% of clients report feeling heard, understood, and respected after their session, and that's equally as important for us. But many things changed after 2020, a result of COVID-19 health restrictions, but as well as some expectations of the funders in our community. And really because of those things, Eastside is really developed into a permanent hybrid service delivery model in 2 ways. So our walk-in days continue to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays, but appointments that started during COVID have remained Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and this is clearly because clients want them. They've asked for those appointments to stick. And appointments, again, the second part of how we're hybrid is appointments still can be in person, but also can remain virtual. So in this way, Eastside is really developing into a mental health open access hub where several services are available. And that open access can be calling, texting, chatting in, or walking in. Those services that are at the hub are now our therapy team, our crisis counseling team, or we're really excited to have a newly funded Eastside system navigation team. So as of January 1st, we'll have that fully funded through donations from our community, which is very exciting. Talk about open access on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Previously to this funding, our Eastside crisis counseling team has been on site to ensure that open and equal access to the supports and services either within Woods Homes and Eastside are available to our clients, or we help navigate what, and I'm sure we've experienced that, you've experienced that in your part of the world, is what can be a really complex mental health or health system. So these navigators have been and now will be navigating clients to both internal services, or what we call system service navigation or system navigation. And really that team has been and will continue to use what we refer to as single session thinking. I know a number of you think in that way too, but really asking the question of what brought you in today and how can we help most today? And 92% of clients report that as Monte and Arnie, you've been talking about, they're so relieved to get that support immediately, not be on a wait list, not be wondering when they're going to get that call back, but get that support on the day they want it the most. We also started our wellness desk team, and this is just an amazing low barrier accessible, open access space for therapeutic conversations in our community. So in collaboration with our municipal library service, we started this open access path in 2020. Lots of bumps at that time, but now with just over 1,000 wellness desk visitors a year, 99% of clients report having a clear next step. And the most exciting thing that we appreciate is that a third of the clients report this is their first time using any kind of mental health supports. And love this picture, really proud of the team there. They won the I partner with my public library. It's a North American award. So really our open access path and open access hub model, our sort of tagline is, it's about the right time, the right place, and with the right team. So hope that that gives folks a little bit of a little snapshot of what we're doing now at what we call the Eastside Community Mental Health Services.
Yeah,
Great.
just to make sure that this is understood, is that this wellness desk is located at the public library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our downtown location, where, as in many of our downtowns, there's a lot of clients who are experiencing homelessness, addictions, mental health issues, is open 7 days a week, and our other locations in more of our bedroom communities are open 1 or 2 days a week. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Janet. All right, well, next up is the team from Walk-in Terapia. Is that how you say it? All right, great. It's so similar to the Spanish version. So Mika Niemela and Elena and Päivi, the team from Walk-in Therapy in Finland, is next up. I had the honor of meeting them, maybe Mika for the first time when I was doing a virtual presentation in Finland about 5 years ago. And I was quite surprised when I met him now 5 years later, what he and some of his colleagues have done with these ideas. So Mika, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you so much. Can you see my slides?
We can.
Yeah, because it's always so exciting because we are kind of a Google organization and now we need to work out here in Microsoft Word, but I think we are okay. So it's a great honor to be here, and I have to say that I really love that the vision that Arnie said, that open doors are easier to enter. So I think we have the same mission and the same vision all over the world. But I'm going to use my 5 minutes now to make a short presentation what we are doing here in Finland, and you will get this presentation also. I can link it in the chat. Is it okay for you? Is it okay, Katie? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So I hope this works. Okay, this is I'm going to kind of hurry up these slides because you will have it. This is something about our association, what I present here. So maybe the most important thing is here that our goal is to make no child or young person is left alone. This is a background of walk-in therapy in Finland. It's a service model, the first introduced in Finland 2021, and it's all true that I was the one of them who saw Monte to have the presentation during the very dark pandemic time. I think the first plan was that kind of that Monte was is coming here to Finland, but it was during the pandemic, so it was online. But that was the first thought that maybe we can also kind of create something that we heard from Monte here in Finland. So we started, actually they started in Tampere, in the Tampere Parish Union, and Ulla Keskinen will tell you something about the more how they operate in a local level. But I will kind of tell you something about what we are doing here in the home base. And because since autumn 2022, our organization has coordinated the service at the national level. So, and it's also the registered trademark on our organization. And nowadays, the service is provided in Ohjaamo guidance centers. It's a public service. It's very easy to access also. Parishes, crisis centers, NGOs, companies, and also another associations. And this is a map of Finland. So now there's maybe more spots, but I don't know how to put it there. So, but it shows that we have together with the local people, we have really get great progress also. At this time, we have approx 34 locations and more than 15 service points, as well as we have an online video service in Tuesdays online. This is the most important thing of our service model, all deliver model here in Finland. So it's totally free of charge. It's anonymous, and it's provided without the need for an appointment. And it's based on single session therapy. And we have tried to emphasize that single session therapy method also, that our therapist is kind of committed for that principle, that even one session of professional conversation support may be sufficient. And if the clients want to come over, it's totally okay. Attend also kind of multiple sessions, but it's not necessarily with the same therapist. It's based on the working approach is solution focused, and we have kind of demands also who can do this. It at least 20 credits of therapeutic methods. So we really want that we have people who run this, who do this, that sort of know what they are doing. So we have also kind of created that kind of studying model, and a little bit later about that. But the main idea is that we in our organization, we are only the home base. We are only the kind of headquarter of walk-in therapy. We create material, we support the local operators, we train them, trying to arrange that kind of train to the therapists that's what are really needed in the basic daily basis. So and I think that we have now run this project, which is part of the funding funded by European Union also. So we try to also to find the right place in Finnish society, who we are, what we are doing, how we run this walk-in therapy in Finland. We have also faced, like Arnie said earlier, critics that are we the real? Is this real? That is this professional? But it's only a few experiences of that. And during this 3-year project, we have a great opportunity to have more therapists in the field. So we have a kind of our own education program, and we have 120 places for during these 3 years to have the professional with the relevant educational background to have this kind of therapist education program. And now we have it's running group number 1 and also group number 2, and there's still coming 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 20 students per group. This education program takes a little bit over a year to complete. And it's also kind of provide to create opportunity to kind of develop I think all kinds of professional skills also, because those walk-in therapists in Finland, they are not paid for that, because we have the dream that we don't need the millions and millions of euros. We try to challenge those employees that they can kind of give the working hours to their workers who are trained for that education program, or maybe they are the psychotherapists already. So we are kind of it's part of their daily work. I can say that. This is actually the question about, is the walk-in therapy in Finland professional therapy? And I'm so happy that Monty, you help us also to clarify this theme or these kind of statements of that in our society. You were really helpful for us. So I think that we have great field work. We have a bright future also, but we need to be patient. It takes time that we can find our right place in the society also, but we need to be patient. But we are really excited about that, so we really have to focus what we are doing. This is a little statistics from last year, and yeah, I think I'm not going to read the lines because you will get that presentation also, but of course, usefulness of walk-in therapy session, the average is they're really high, so we are really happy about that. And also that the experience of being heard during the session is really high. So I think we have done some things right here in Finland. So that was my presentation, and it's only a little time now. But I think that if you have any questions, we have so happy to answer your questions after also this meeting, because we have so little time here. You can reach us in our contact numbers also. So thank you. It was a great privilege, Monty and Arno and Katie and everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. That was one of the things that I'm most impressed with. Not only have you been very successful, but you have organized a very rigorous training program for your clinicians. So it's a great model that you don't take people that are just skilled clinicians, but you specifically train them in the walk-in single session model. I really liked that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd also want to say I've often said that as far as my understanding is that the place in the world has been that the place in the world where the open access walk-in single session has spread the most within a country has been Canada. But I think Canada is now in competition with Finland.
I think so. I think so.
Thank you.
All right. Well, so we're going to move from the far north of Finland and Europe to Mexico and Mexico City. I want to introduce Saul Cruz to you. Saul is a psychologist that has been working in Mexico for a number of years with indigenous populations using walk-in single session therapy. Good morning, Saul.
Good morning, Monty. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Well, I would like to tell you about my work with indigenous communities in Oaxaca. Oaxaca is in the south of Mexico. It's a very impoverished state, and it has a very large indigenous population. These indigenous communities, can you hear me well, by the way? Yeah.
Very well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking.
Yeah, in these communities, you have several languages. And these languages divide into dialects. So you have populations that are very isolated from each other because they have to speak different languages, and not all of them speak Spanish. So sometimes they go into wars or things like that because they are so isolated from the rest of the community, from the city and from other parts. And they also have to go to the United States to look for a job, for money to send to their relatives. So you would find a lot of people from Oaxaca in the U.S., all over the U.S., working, washing dishes and cleaning bathrooms, because they're so isolated that they have to go to these places. So in these communities, I've tried to apply walk-in and single session therapy. And I've noticed that some of the things that people wonder is what is a psychologist, or what is the role of a psychologist? And sometimes they see a psychologist as a mind doctor, or as somebody who is going to go deep into their psyche and recover something that has been forgotten. And sometimes they're not used to psychologists because they have other means of getting help, or of getting psychotherapy. For instance, there are priests, there are pastors, there's always a wise old woman, an abuelita, as we call them, as we call her here in Mexico. There's also a brujo, or somebody, a shaman, somebody who does witchcraft, who provides these kind of services. So in these contexts, what we have realized is that there are a lot of multicultural competencies that we have to work on in order to be able to work with the population of these communities. So basically, developing a conscious awareness of our own cultural values and prejudices is very important, because I come from Mexico City, so my values and my cultural prejudices and all that are very different from the ones in these villages. We also have realized that we have to learn to value the worldwide view of the people in these communities, that we have to develop a set of interpersonal skills that are culturally competent. So for instance, we have to learn about their ideas, their view of the world, their stories, and not just pretend that because we come from the same country, we have the same values. Some of the things that we have learned working with these communities is to build trust, to expect the unfamiliar, to find a mentor. Monte has been my mentor and the mentor of other students who have come with him to these communities, and other people who have been to these communities, and also work with a team. We go to these, or we used to go to the communities. We haven't been there for some years because of lack of funding, but we go there as a team. We usually take doctors and dentists and other physicians to give their services for free to these isolated communities. And these are places that are on top of mountains, that are far away from the city, that are, very remote areas that we have to get into. I'm going to show you some of the pictures of these places. I'm sorry that I don't have the slides, but I went through an emergency yesterday evening, so I won't be able to show you the slides, but here are some pictures. This is one of the places where we went with Monty and his students. This is me talking to the community, and we are trying to set set everything ready for the medical clinics, as we call them. We have an NGO, so we work with people from other places in the world, and these people used to send medical doctors and other people to give these services. I wonder how much time I have left.
I think you owe us some time now. Could you wrap up maybe in about 30 seconds? So this has been fascinating. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you. So I'm really glad to be here. I hope you can visit us in Mexico, in Oaxaca sometime. We have the facilities. You can stay with us. We can go to villages and provide these single session and walk-in services together. Thank you.
Thank you, Saul. Well, we're going to stay in Mexico for a little while. I want to introduce you to Marina Gonzalez, who is the director of a training and service institute in Mexico City, Casa Tonalá. I've known Marina for quite a few years and consulted with her about starting a walk-in service at Casa Tonalá, and she's going to describe how they've done that.
Hi, Monty. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. I don't have any slides. I thought that it was more fun to talk just like this. I hope I make sure I have I can give all the ideas that I have in my mind. I don't want to repeat. I think that there's a lot of stuff in here that you have said that is like the same material that we do in Casa Tonalá. But we are a self-sustained organization. We have been for more than 12 years in Mexico City. What we did was an interesting thing, because in Mexico City, one of the stuff that we want to address, it was that our government and our insurance companies, they don't cover as much as the need of the people. So as a self-sustained group of people, we want to contribute to the people around us in our community. Mexico City is a huge city, and we have a very strong need for this kind of services. So we opened Casa Tonalá in 2012. Guess that our main reason for that was to develop a clinic. But in that time, I don't have the knowledge about single session or anything like that. I just know narrative therapy. So we began like trying to teach narrative therapy to therapists that they were interested in learning that. And couple years after that, and I have been working in another community service for people with autism. And in there, I didn't have a single session practice, but my work in there was as a volunteer who received people from the community and helped them deal with the struggles that they have in that moment. So in a way, I have been doing single session therapy, also open access, because they don't have to have like an appointment. They just go there and ask for a session. And if I was available, they can enter to my office and we will talk for an hour. And when I met Monty, I really got really excited because I had read his book, and I really didn't know that somebody can just teach me this kind of stuff. And Monty has been really crucial in our work, because from that time to these days, he has been very close to us. And definitely our framework was to do an open access clinic. And with his knowledge, we begin doing, first of all, we began teaching single session, because in a way we need to have volunteers to work in the clinic, because we are self-sustained, and because it's a solidarity clinic, we ask for the amount of $5 if people can pay that. That's the suggesting fee. But there's a lot of people that in Mexico, they don't have even that to go and have a session. So it's really a significant amount of money for people. So we try to be as solidarity as we can. And all the people that work in Casa Tonalá in the clinic, they are volunteers. Until this day, we have 28 volunteers. We have two branches. The main branch was the one that we began doing open access. And the only thing that we did was to put a poster outside of our building, inviting people to come, and they will access, no? We work in teams. What we do is a session that is, we have 5 therapists in the room. One will conduct the session, and 3 of them will be the reflecting team, and another one will take notes to make a document. So in that time, we have all the, because we were beginning to have this clinic, we have the amount of people that we need to give service to the people that they just knock the door. And we really enjoy that. It was really part of our practice, how we perform on that ethical hospitality, shared vulnerability, community reciprocity, with deep respect for the knowledge of the people that come to our clinic. But it was something that we just began to develop. We didn't know exactly what we were doing, but it was wonderful when we just make the open access. After COVID, we have to make it online, and we still have our clinic with people that they have to do an appointment, because it was so successful, the amount of people that they came, that then we have to switch to appointments, because it was very difficult for us to cover the amount of people that they were arriving, no? And I don't know also how long I have been talking, Monty. Do I have more time? Okay, you just tell me, please, when I stop.
Yeah, I think you're going to need to wrap up. We have one more person.
Okay. So what we do, what I want to share today is that open access definitely open a lot of information for us in the way that we provide the service, because we notice that the more we take all the obstacles for people to come and have a session, the more we have successful sessions, because they feel free to come whenever they need it, and they don't have to make the commitment for a huge amount of sessions. They just have to cover a need, or they just want to have a session, or they don't have to tell anybody that they were having a session, or they don't have to plan and to make an appointment. And that kind of service is really something that we discover that opens the door for people in a way for the change that they want to do. No, these days we have few open accesses, we have more online, we have more face-to-face, but with an appointment. But it's because of the fact that we are a self-sustained organization. We don't have the amount of people to cover all the necessities, so we need to have appointments. But thank you very much, and also feel free to contact us and to come to visit our clinic in Mexico, or even from outside, because we work online, so we can show you what we do. Thank you very much for this invitation to Monty and Arnie and Katie. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. Yes, if you wanted to do some training, Marina's Casa Tonalá has lots of virtual training that you can complete online as well. Yes, you've really done a marvelous job in pioneering walk-in and open access. In fact, your walk-in became so successful you had to turn to appointments. Okay, thank you, Marina. And now we're going to go back to Finland with Ulla Keskinen, who's with the Finnish Association for Children and Youth. I haven't met Ulla. I'm really excited to meet him today and have him tell us a little bit about another service that is being provided in Finland.
Yes, thanks for the invite. All my colleagues are in a flu. They have a running nose and really cough in their lungs. So that's the reason why I am here today.
Well, thank you for coming, Ulla.
It's nice to come. Although I have to say I'm so nervous, but I try to relax because you're all therapists, so I can be in a safe environment with you guys. Yes, I will talk you about my work in a local upper secondary school. This is something that, because Mika was talking about from our home base, I will talk from the field now where the work is really done. Just a joke for Mika. Anyways, so I work in a local upper secondary school. And in the beginning, I have to describe you how our school system works in this kind of matter, because we have these individual support services there, where we have a team. They're in a school. There's 5 different people who work with the youngsters. There's a school social worker or counselor, and then there is a school psychologist. And then there's, of course, in every school has to have a school nurse. And then there's a guidance counselors. Actually, there's 2 of them. And then there is also us walking therapists in our school. But this is something new that we have trying to do now, because normally in schools there is no walking therapist. So this is our project, and we have trying to do something new in our local schools. And in our schools, the students are about from ages from 16 to 19, 20 years old. So we work with the young people. This project will last 1.5 years. We started on January and will end in the end of next June. And we try to find answer for our question: what kind of impact can be achieved by adding walking therapy already to that existing school support system? Is there something for students that they might be missing out? That's the question that we try to find out through this project. We have 2 different schools that we are now testing. And there's 2 of us who work. And Monte, you met Mari in Helsinki. Mari is my colleague, and she's the one who does the other school, and I'm there in the other school. And we are there on call 3 days a week, and always 5 hours each day. And students can either book an appointment or simply just walk in if the therapist is available, only one person at a time. And what is really nice for the students that they can come to during the school day. They can be absent from the classes. And we have already noticed from the schools that good cooperation with of course with the students, but among adults is the most important thing. And it's really essential to be able to do this work well. Because if the teachers are not buying this system, they will not send the kids to our place. So it's really essential that it works like that. And our services reputation has already been there among youngsters, and of course during the social media time, they text and talk about us and how we work. And I have to say that we haven't had to make any advertisement, because the push radio, I don't know how you say it in English, the jungle radio, it really works well. They talk to each other, and they say they might have had a really nice experience with us, and they say to go there, you should go there. And it has been really easy to get the students to come to visit us. And one of our unique aspects is, of course, is that we are able to work with the youngsters in their acute and unique and urgent matters at the day when some bad things has happened. So at the right time. And we have the possibility to start walking really quickly, so they don't have to wait. There's no queue to our office. And it's really nice. Even we can even offer the next day time for them if we have some, if we happen to have some queue. But yeah, that's nice. And one unique thing is that we are there where young people spend most of their everyday life. They're in school. So we are really easy to reach. We are really easy to access. And some things that we have noticed is that some visitors or our clients, they choose which adult they want to talk about some certain matters. And usually when they come to us, the things are not because of the school. It's just something to do outside of the school, not the school work or nothing to do with the school. Because they think that the school social worker, they should talk about the school. But for us, they think that they can talk about the boyfriends and girlfriends and, you know, stuff from the real life. Yeah. But anyways, I feel that this work really feels truly meaningful, and we believe it has a preventive impact of the young people's lives. And once we make our impact study ready, then, and when this project is completed, then we know more about this, what kind of impact this has made for those youngsters' lives. But thank you. That was my part.
Thank you, Ulla. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of your impact study. Katie, we have about 10 minutes or so left. Is that right?
Yeah. Do you want me to open it up to others?
Yeah, and I don't know about Arnie, but I've got a lot of free time this morning. If people want to hang around for a few minutes after we officially end, I'm certainly up for that. But you want to open it up for questions now?
Yeah. Is that Is that okay, or did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Has
Yeah,
anyone got any
yeah.
questions that they would like to ask any of the speakers today? Thanks, everyone. Such a richness of different speakers from different parts of the world. It's so, yeah, incredibly heartwarming, I think, to hear that, you know, we're all in a similar position really in terms of the constraints with systems and how we're trying to make a difference in this ever evolving, growing, demanding world. And yeah, it's good to hear that we're all kind of trying our best to offer services in such a unique, innovative way, really. Sorry, that's just my spiel. But yeah, anyone who's got any questions?
Yeah, me.
Go for it, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Hey, I wanted to ask Milka if he's on the line still. Is he around, Milka? Yeah. I was struck by one thing that you said, which I think is really important, and that is you hold a year-long training course, if I understand you correctly, for people to do this work.
Yeah.
And I think I just want to, Faye, it would be good to, you know, if you have an opportunity to share the curriculum of that, I think that would be important. But I do want to underscore that is that so many people that I come across think that they can go to a 3-hour presentation on single session therapy and then do the work, which I find, you know, strange. And so I just wanted to really say thank you for making that important point during your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, or even a 12-hour training and go and do that.
Yeah.
Mika and his group are connected to the Brief Therapy Center in Finland that is in Helsinki, that is Ben Furman's started that organization. And so they have an extremely well put together solution focused therapy training program that they build the walk-in single session on top of. Is that correct, Mika?
It's correct, yeah. And we have to also remember that during that 1 year, a little bit over 1 year, so the students need to make the 150 hours when practicing also. So I think it's and thank you for the kind words, Wendy, also. And I think we are really proud of our education program also, and it's true that we maybe get the best office or organization to run this program. Ben Furman and Tapani Ahola and Maju Ahola also, which Monte also meeting here in Finland. They are really kind of passionate to do that. Yeah, thank you.
If I may, I just wanted to say that I've been impressed by the many ways people are applying the approach and the open access approach to doing this way of therapy with people across the world. Maybe that's one of the advantages of COVID, who knows? But what I was really hearing was the variety of ways people are offering a service, but staying true to the principles of client-centered and one-at-a-time approaches. So that's impressive. Thank you for that, all of you.
I'm even wondering, Nancy, if there are people on this call that are doing walk-in or open access work that we haven't heard from. And they might want to share their experiences.
Yeah, good point.
Margaret even asked that, are there other similar programs? ICE? Did I say that right? I thought her hand was up.
Sorry, yeah, it's up. Sorry. So I'm just going to walk you downstairs. I'm Aisha Adil from London, and we use SST and single session therapy for domestic abuse victims or survivors. So it's a service that we offer clients who might be on a waiting list to either see us or another organisation, and they can walk in anytime on a, sorry, I have to move because someone else is in. They can walk in at any time on a Monday or a Friday, and we offer them single session therapy. And then they can choose to remain on our waiting list for more intense therapy, or the one session might be more than enough for them. Usually, at the moment, if we look at our stats, just over 60% of them no longer need further intervention.
Wow. What, that sounds fantastic. What's the name of your organization?
It's called Family-Based Solutions.
Family-Based Solutions.
Most of our single session therapy is conducted as a silent session. So I will ask questions, I will ask solution focused questions, and they will just think of the answer in their own minds. That way they can be extremely honest and open with themselves, have think about things without fearing any judgment. Because a lot of our clients have been silenced over the years as domestic abuse victims, so it might be quite difficult for them to explain what's actually going on for them. So we run the single session therapies mainly as silent sessions for them. That's just how we do it here.
Yeah, I saw your comment describing that. Sounded fascinating. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I was very interested in that too. But the other thing is just to, in terms of what you were saying too, is that I know services where so there might be a waiting list, but they're also told they have the walk-in option while they're on the waiting list, and services also where even when people are engaged and being seen in a series of sessions, they're also told that at any point in time they could use the walk-in option if they need it. While they're actively involved. So there's a whole variety of possibilities here.
Yeah, yes, I think we're aware that's been an excellent way to use walk-in to eliminate waiting lists. It's a tremendous way. I think you were very successful with that at Austin Child Guidance as an option to moving people off the waiting list as well.
Yeah, we also, I remember in Calgary when I was there, we also, we put out the word to other counseling agencies that provided counseling in more traditional ways. But we also let them know that, for example, they could, if they wanted, they could tell their clients, for example, if their clinician was on vacation or something, that they could just use our walk-in service during that time. And that happened.
Interesting, Arnie, it still does.
Okay.
And oftentimes when people are even in private practice, their clients may come on an interim basis and at particular times of the year, summer being one, when a lot of people are on vacation. So it is one of those approaches that does fit very well for people.
Yeah.
I see Jillian in the comments. I wonder if she'd elaborate on that about setting up digital drop-ins. Are you talking about virtual drop-in sessions or like a Zoom call?
Mm-hmm. So I currently work mainly online, and I've been implementing this, and it is just me in the service. So I work in child and adolescent mental health service as well. And it's via appointment, but we still have a lot of paperwork. There's a referral process and a screening process and setting up appointments and all these things. And I like the idea of having some kind of digital drop-in availability, but often where I can feel a bit stuck is the practical logistical implementation of these things, because with NHS systems often there's a lot of red tape to overcome and governance issues and GDPR, the data protection laws and all these bits and pieces that can be really a big hindrance to just getting something done. So I sometimes think it's like, instead of reinventing the wheel, if there's other people with ideas, it's kind of drawing from those ideas to try and then sell it to the management who would approve these things. So just looking for ideas really to try and reduce further. At the moment, I'm seeing people within 3 weeks, which is a big improvement from the 8 to 10, sometimes 12 weeks that they're currently having to wait, and that's running concurrently. But just to try and reduce it further if that was possible. Thank you for letting me say a bit more. Thank you.
I'm sure everybody had the same experience. I think Nancy and Janet referred to it during the pandemic. Our clinic in San Antonio, we couldn't do walk-ins anymore because we had to move to all of our therapy being virtual via Zoom. So we continued to have a version of the walk-in service where people could still call the clinic and find out, because we would still stand by online on those days, and people could call and say, is there anybody available that could talk to me right now? And we also used same day appointments where people could call in the morning and say, is anybody available that can see me? And we would set something up for the walk-in team later in the day. So I think we all had to get creative during the pandemic in adjusting how we could do open access. But and I know that digital text-based services is also another way people have been providing digital services. I'm certainly not an expert on that. I think there are other people on this call that are.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on that either. But I also know, I think we all know that the younger people in our world, those text-based communications is their world. So to be able to provide services for them that fit for them, and it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, it's Scott Cooper. Hi, Scott. I forgot to say hello to you earlier. Put the link in for One Stop Talk. That's in Toronto. Arnie and I had some experience working with them for a couple of years, but it's a virtual walk-in or drop-in open access kind of service for children and youth in the Ontario area.
Mm-hmm. And they really wrestled with all of those policies and procedures and safety risk, trying to make it work across the province. So they've landed somewhere really cool. Still working on it, but I think, and Foundry is a really nice model there in BC. So just of interest. Hi, folks. Hi, Monty. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Scott.
And all of the rest.
Perhaps I should emigrate. Have you got any jobs? Maybe that's maybe that I should go to the system rather than build the system here. Maybe that's what I should do.
No, I'd like you to keep developing it there.
No, don't do that. You have to develop it there.
Yeah, the NHS, it doesn't matter. It's when the government is involved, things are always very complicated.
And short term, that's the other thing. I think mental health systems somehow go through these short-termist, funding comes and goes so quickly, and yeah, it's frustrating.
Although there definitely appears to be an appetite across the NHS at the moment for implementing SST. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. Santiago's smiling. I wonder if he knows more.
Well, obviously can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously part of the work that I've done in single session interventions for single session therapy myself was inside of KUTH. I think within the NHS, is shared independently if KUTH is a private organization, is the idea that you cannot demonstrate well the change. An idea that is just an idea, because I think there is plenty of evidence to show that actually, and evidence that is, you know, beyond some randomized controlled trials of very good therapy models, right? But what is clear is a gap when you work with commissioners, and I think it is across the world, is this idea of like, well, how can we measure change? And with single session, that can be a limitation if we go into traditional methodologies of measuring psychotherapy. But obviously there are solutions, and I helped to develop one of them that I think can also be used as a therapeutic tool. But the NHS, the main hurdle that you will find is that they want to know that single session works. And also, obviously there's the whole, I guess, idea that single session comes with the wrong name or with the wrong assumptions, and so on and so forth. So it's a double edge, in my opinion, because there could be data, and also there is a tradition that will go slightly against it. But if the NHS needs something, is the MHSDS, which is a database, and that database doesn't allow any kind of outcome that has not had 2 data points. So for single session in itself is a limitation. So one of the things that we did, or I did with KUTH, was to help to break that down into maybe we can create 2 data points in the same session, which is exactly what we did. So we asked first, what do you want to do in the session? And later on at the very end, how did it went? What is shocking is that within the field of mental health and psychotherapy, there is no single outcome measure that considers just a session as a unit of analysis, as opposed to a course of treatment, a course of thing. So obviously that was a gap on the science that I've tried to help to cover with this instrument. But I think there is quite a lot of like change and perhaps voice into how do we measure stuff in psychotherapy and mental health. I think it's very traditionally medical model driven, and counseling, psychotherapy, and mental health sometimes do not look for symptomatology, and that is what the NHS is used to. But that doesn't mean that the NHS will not be willing to listen to how to measure other things that are slightly more difficult to measure, or slightly less clinical to measure. But that's my view there. That's probably the main challenge.
And even sometimes easier to measure.
Yeah, I would say so. And what we did also is helping with the goals. So the goals it not only measures the thing, but it helps the therapist and the patient or the client to think about what goals do we want to have for the session, which also helps to the collaborative approach, taking out the expert view of the therapist managing the session and how it's going to go. And I did it because I thought it was a really nice thing to think before going to any kind of therapy in a waiting list kind of format, independently if it's digital, face-to-face or anything like that. It's like, what do I want to get from these 60 minutes, really? And I found myself as a practitioner that was because I work quite a lot with community and marginalized communities, sometimes goal creation and goal sharing creation was really hard to actually do in one session for me. So that kind of solved a double problem. Perhaps I made it more complicated at the very end to use as an instrument, but I think the NHS has measurement probably is one of the main difficulties for single session therapy, in my view.
I have this sort of crazy idea that, what if we developed focus groups of clients and asked them what is the best way to measure how useful and how effective this was? What if we asked the clients what are the best measures?
Well, that's great because one of the beautiful privileges that I had of building this instrument is that we took all of the data from 10 years of KUTH to really understand that. So I couldn't do the focus groups, but I have 10 years of historical data of understanding why people come just for one session.
Yeah.
So I agree. It needs to be patient-led, the information that comes to them, and then develop any kind of measurement based on that data, not trying to build a theory and then measure it. I completely agree with that, Arnold.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you all so much. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to go in a minute because it's nearly midnight here and I have to go to work tomorrow morning.
Well,
Have my little ones going to be waking me up at
Well.
5 a.m. because we have the elves in our house. So they will be very excited to find out what they're doing tomorrow morning. So I'm really sorry. I don't mean to, I mean, you can all carry on. I don't know if it will allow you to carry on having these conversations.
I also need to leave, but it was lovely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katie. We owe you one. Arnie and I will stay up late for a future meeting.
Oh, no, but thank you. I just wanted to, sincerely thank you for, joining us today. I know there's many people that would be very excited and, really, yeah, pleased to hear from you and the amazing work that you're doing in terms of open access. And yeah, it's just so, for me, it's just lovely to see so many of us across the world thinking together about how we can use this approach in different contexts. So yeah, if anyone wants to present at another meeting, I know we haven't had them as regular as what we had done in the past, but we are going to try and make them a little bit more regular, so every quarter at least. Throughout the year, and there'll be different topics that we're talking about. So I know some of my colleagues in the eating disorder services in the UK have started implementing it there too. So they were quite keen to present their work. But there's also, oh, they're not my children, I hope. They're asleep. But no, if there is anybody else that would like to present their work or their service, then just please do get in touch, because again, it's great that we can just learn and share our practice with one another and grow. And although the systems seem to be constraining our ability to implement, I'm a great believer in, collectively we can make a difference. And I'm sure once they do see that we are making a difference, they, it's like that kind of contagiousness. People will want also to be part of this evolving kind of way of approach, and it's very aligned with the trauma-informed principles too. And as we know, that's a real movement in the work that we're doing right now. So I'm really excited about what we can do and how this will grow and evolve. So anyway, lovely to see you all. Thanks for your time.
I think I might be able to I hope I can speak for all of us to say thank you for organizing this forum. I think it's of great benefit to all of us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Arnie. And I hope to see you again. And anyone that's not on the membership, just email me and I will add you to the list so that you can be sent out an invite. And if it's not from me, it'll be from Eva, who sadly couldn't be here today, but she helps me to coordinate these meetings too. Anyway, thanks everyone.
I want to thank everybody for
and
joining.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. This has been a wonderful conversation and been an honor to talk with all of you.
Yeah, and thank you for having me and Monte to our presenting partners as well for your contribution to this. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.